can switch the slides. All right, so we will start with a brief overview of the Telerik products, and it's the purpose of this is to actually show you where Sitefinity fits in. Just a brief note, I know that Abhishek will be covering all of the Telerik products in the detailed sessions that you have each week. Then we will continue with what is Sitefinity. We will begin from the architecture itself, tell you something more about the features, give you a brief demo of how Sitefinity looks for business users, designers, developers, show you some of the amazing resources that we have that you can use with Sitefinity. And of course, at the end, we will be happy to receive your questions and to answer them, of course. You can type them in the channel pad, in the chat, in the panel of the GoToMeeting. So before we start, of course, we will follow, after the webinar itself, we will follow up with the recording of the meeting, and we will make sure to include some relevant resources that you can take a look at, which we will mention here, but of course an hour or an hour and a half is not nearly enough to show you this product exactly, as with any Telerik product. So, all right, without further ado, I hope that I did a good job of setting the stage for Bibi here as well. I'd like it all to meet Bibi.
Hello everyone, I'm pleased to meet you all. Thanks Momchu for this introduction. As you saw, the agenda today is pretty dense, so we have a lot to cover, but I think we'll go through the slides quickly and really focus on the product itself. The first thing I wanted to do is really get you a overview of our portfolio. So you already saw the Kendo components in the previous presentation, in the previous webinar. But just to give you an idea what the focus of Telerik is, essentially we cover everything from the actual development, the developer tools requested for the actual development, through the project management, through automated testing. So we cover the whole scenario there. And where Sitefinity fits in that, we are the content management solution. And essentially we incorporate many of the components that are available separately. So you will see components from the RAD controls, from Kendo, all incorporated into Sitefinity itself. And of course for project managing the actual solution, we also use our tools as well. The Telerik platform, of course, is something that's rapidly growing at the moment, and it would cover everything from prototyping a mobile solution through the whole app building, testing, deployment scenario, and finally collecting analytics and feedback. So again, it's a really comprehensive solution for mobile development. Okay, and what Sitefinity is, it's essentially an ASP.NET application, and it's based on all the standard technologies. So our widgets that you see in a second are actually ASP.NET controls. Our page templates are essentially master pages, and you are plugging in your own ASP.NET theme. So nothing new and frustrating here. A quick look at the architecture. Essentially, all the data within Sitefinity is exposed, and it can be accessed either through the API or through our web services. All the pages are based on page templates. Those can be one of the built-in ones, or you can create your custom page templates as well. And we have a set of controls that you can use. Those are the Sitefinity controls, and you can modify those or extend the list with your own custom controls as well. We have some built-in modules that address the most typical scenarios like blogs, news, events. And again, here you can add your own modules as well. And of course, we have the infrastructure layer where we have the common taxonomies, we have the personalization feature, our security with the granular permissions, everything in one place. Okay, just I don't know, a quick list of some of the features Sitefinity offers. For a full list of the features, you can go to our portal where you'll find It's a list of, I don't know, more than 150 features that we have incorporated into Sitefinity. But for bigger projects, of course, multi-site management would be one of the most important ones. We have support for multilingual content, both for the front end and for the back end. We support responsive design, and actually we support all the mobile strategies that can come up at any stage during the project life cycle. We have our e-commerce solution, content personalization, email marketing, multiple connectors to external system, and so much more. But I guess the value comes with the requirements. So whenever there is a requirement for a particular feature, that's what makes it valuable, of course. So that was basically the quick intro into what we have here. And now I would like to start with a quick overview of the system from the eyes of a business user, just to give you an idea of how the solution works. And for that purpose, we'll create some content, we'll personalize some content, and I'll show you some additional cool features as well.
And just to chip in quickly, while Bibi is actually preparing Sitefinity here, I just wanted to make sure that even during the webinar, even when Bibi is speaking, when you see something and you have a question, just again type it in the chat box, and after we're finished with the demo itself and with the presentation, we'll go over each and every question and make sure to answer them.
All right. So I quickly switched over from PowerPoint presentation to an actual demo, which would probably be the more interesting part. So this is our demo website with essentially all the functionalities Sitefinity 7 has to offer. So this is the front end with a banner on the home page, 3-column layout at the bottom. We have our e-commerce solution, so this is an online store, so it's essential that we have our online shop where you can check out products and purchase them, follow them, and check your previous orders. We have a news section, we have downloadables, blogs, forums, a contact us form, of course, for collecting some feedback, and some additional functionality for actually locating the nearest store. And here is where we can switch between the different languages. So I can check out the website in Spanish and in English. And of course, we have our authentication mechanism. So let's see how things look on the back end and how is actually this content created and managed within the system. If I log in as the administrator so that I can have full permissions, what you'll see is our welcoming dashboard. So the dashboard is the place where all the most relevant up-to-date information can be found, and also whenever you get started with Sitefinity, we provide you with some resources for that. So here we get the analytics from Google Analytics. We also track the changes to the content, so what's being published, what's in draft mode, etc. And you can actually change this dashboard and customize it to fit your needs as well. But let's quickly go through a page creation process. So this is our sitemap, which completely reflects what we have on the site here. We have our products, our online shop, our Insight Quantum, and it's the same here. How you manage the sitemap, it's really easy. If you decide to rearrange it, what you can actually do is simply drag and drop a node from the sitemap, and it would immediately be moved to its new location. And the previous URL would actually be preserved as an alternative URL with the permanent redirect to the new location. Under About Us, now we'll find the store locator. If you want to create a page, all we need to do is click on Create a Page, type in a title, maybe Green Campaign for collecting some old notebooks. The URL would be automatically generated. You can later on change that URL or edit its complete URL structure, so you have full control over the URLs that you're using. The title for search engines is also automatically generated. You can change it on maybe to Quantum Green Campaign. The template section is where you actually select the template that you want to use. As I mentioned, there are basic built-in templates like header, content, and footer. You can create your custom templates though, and that's usually the case. And for this particular website, quantum3.0 is the template that we are using. So for consistency purposes, we can leave it as it is and click on create and add some content. This would actually load the page in editing mode, which would present quite a lot of elements already. These are coming from the page template that I selected, which is the Quantum 3.0. On the page, we have the navigation, the logo. These are elements that I cannot really touch upon. I have this single placeholder in the center here. But if the business user wants to do something more with the layouts, then they can definitely do so. They can drag and drop those layout elements, which gives them full flexibility to create really complex layouts, and really lifts the burden of the developers, for them to do these tasks. You can see that you can easily adjust the width of each layout element. You can add some spacing. You can actually label your layout elements so that the business users know what type of content they need to place there. So for example, I can name my first column our news column, and we can have our content column here. Okay, if I switch back to content, we now see that we have two placeholders instead of a single one. The news sidebar, and we have our content section. It's time to populate this page with a little bit of content. For that, we are using the widgets that we have here. Of course, we have widgets that are requesting content of any type that we have. So for example, if you need to place some news on the page, all you need to do is drag it and drop it, and all the news articles from our database would be immediately pulled. But of course, in most cases, you don't want to have every single news article on the page. You might want to filter the items by categories, tags, or dates. You can also set some paging, maybe limit the number of items to the ones that you want to see. You can sort them by different criteria or also advanced criteria. And you can select how this particular list should be displayed. So we have multiple templates that you can choose from, and again, these can be customized, modified, or new ones can be created. So whether you want to see only titles or titles, dates, and summaries, this is your choice. I'm not sure everything is okay with the connection. I hope everybody can hear me okay. If there are any issues with the connection, please let me know in advance.
Bibi, we can hear you well. This is just to confirm.
All right. Thanks, Abhishek. Okay. So now that I saved the settings for this particular widget that I dragged and dropped, we see that the content on the page is immediately updated. I can add some static content as well, because this is all dynamic, right? Everything is coming from our data repositories. So I can enter some content. And this is where our other tools come into play. So for example, this editor here that you see is actually our RAT editor, which has a word-like functionality and quite a lot of tools that you can enable or disable. And you see that some of the functionalities have been already disabled for this particular screen here. And you can simply copy and paste some word text into this RAT editor, and the RAT editor will take care of styling for you. You'll see in a second what I mean by that. Here is our Word document that we have prepared in advance, and you can see that it's pretty ugly, pretty colorful, but still not really suitable for any public website. I can copy the contents and paste it in here, and you see that all the ugly formatting was actually stripped down, and now we have clean HTML, preserving the bullet points, the bold formatting, all the standard HTML, but everything else was actually stripped out. And I can make maybe make this heading 1. I can also maybe insert a title for this section that we have here, maybe news, and that would again be our heading 1. And I'm almost done. I can preview this page, and this is how it would look like on a desktop where we have quite a lot of space. And I can actually preview it for smartphones and tablets. And this is what the page would look like on a mobile phone, like a smartphone like iPhone. You see that the 2 columns were actually rearranged, and now we have one single column with the content appearing properly. Also the navigation is now this toggle navigation. And you can switch between the list of devices that we have here, though the list is quite extensive. So how this works, I can quickly publish this page so that we can see it on the live side. We have the green campaign. I can use the quick link to view it. And this is my page. I can show you now the responsive and mobile design so that you get an idea how the responsive design works. Essentially, you define multiple groups of rules. You can have as many groups of rules as necessary. And essentially what the groups of rules are definitions for the devices that you're targeting. So no individual devices, but instead you're giving the properties of the device. And in this case, we have defined a smartphone to be something with a maximum width of 640 pixels with any orientation. And we are generating this media query for you. Once we have that information in place, we can transform any layout element into the selection that you've made. So if you have a 3-column, for example, you can choose whether you want to have 1 column on top and 2 on the bottom, or the reverse order, or simply arrange everything into a single column. And you can also transform the navigation widgets as well. And you can address those rules to all the navigation widgets or a subset of those based on a class that you have provided them with. And you can transform them into a drop-down list, a vertical menu, or essentially hide the navigation from the device. So these are the options that you have. Once you have those rules in place, you don't really need to worry about the responsiveness of the website. You can, of course, override the rules and set them on a page level. So for each page, if you have some particular rules that you want to apply, you can adjust that configuration and either inherit from the configuration of the template or apply all rules for the responsive design, or just a selection of the rules that you have, or not transform the page at all. So you have that flexibility here. And also, if, for example, you have a sidebar that's not really that relevant for the mobile devices, another thing that you can do is essentially hide a certain column for a particular set of devices. So, for example, if you consider the news section in the sidebar not to be that relevant for the smartphones, you can essentially hide it and you'll be good to go. So that was about content creation and responsive design. Maybe we can see the responsive design in action. If I resize this page in here and it doesn't go to the top. Okay, just give me a second. I don't know why I decided to go right at the top. But here is the resized page, and I can do this gradually. So you see that as we are shrinking the screen, the estate is becoming smaller and smaller. And essentially at the bottom here where we had this 3-column layout, we now have these 2 columns. And if I continue shrinking the screen, we reach the size of a smartphone where we now have a single column layout, everything arranged one under the other. The navigation is also transformed. So this is the responsive design in action. And now I want to show you the personalization in action as well. So what it is, take a good look at this homepage at the moment. Essentially, we are promoting a tablet, and the reason for that is because we are actually logged in as a user who made a previous purchase. Now, if I log out, take a look at the homepage. This is the homepage as it is displayed to any generic user that we don't have previous knowledge about. Let's personalize the newly created page that we just did. Okay, we're going into the pages. We see that we have our green campaign, and let's check out the marketing personalization. This is where this feature resides. Essentially, you create multiple segments to address your audience. So we have user segments based on previous purchases, geographical location. The full set of criteria that you can choose from is available here. So you can address users based on their IP address, the landing URL of the page when they arrive on the website, their geographical location. If they're authenticated users, you can use all the profile fields that you have already in store for them. So any information about that user you can use. And additional characteristics would be referral URL, their roles. So based on the roles they have in the system, you can again personalize the content for them. The search keywords they use, the time of day, the previous purchases, visit duration, visited page, and this is tying Marketo with the lead scoring and our personalization. Let's use one of the already existing segments. For example, we have the users from London, and we see that it's currently not being used, so none of the pages have been personalized for this particular segment. Let's go back to our green campaign. And I'll use the personalize this page link, which allows me to select from the user segments that are already available. I can use the users from London. And you see that the initial page that I get from, for the users from London is the same page that we had for the generic users. And I can maybe edit this part here. Maybe say London, recycle your laptops. Okay, I can quickly publish this page. And essentially, you can do slight changes or big changes based on what you need. And in order to get an idea of how the page or the website would look through the eyes of that particular segment, you can view the website through the eyes of that group of users. So, for example, if we take a look at our page here, so this is our home page for all the default users, and we can view it from the eyes of the previous customers. So for them, we are trying to advertise a different product. To go to the green campaign, so this would be for the users from London, and this would be the default page as it is displayed for any generic user. If you want to validate the users, you can actually build some complex custom expressions and add additional fields like complex expressions just to make sure that the proper view is displayed. Okay, so this was a quick look at personalization. These are just a couple of the business features that we have. Of course, you can see that we have the multilingual capabilities. We have content in both languages. You can add as many languages as needed, and you can also translate the whole backend as well. So you can have that backend translated for the business users who are editing the content. A couple more things. Maybe what we can do is take a look at our inline editing capabilities. So once you're logged in and you are granted the permissions to do so, you get the ability to actually edit content as you're browsing through the website. So you can click on a particular item, and then you have those formatting options that we have here. So if you notice that something is off on the public website, you can actually come in and edit the content as you're here. You can include an image maybe of one of our laptops, maybe the blue one, and maybe this one. We can align it on the left, and we can set some margin. Okay. And this is how quickly and easy you can actually edit the actual pages on the live site as you're browsing through them. You can publish the page, and if there is a workflow in place, of course, this would go through the workflow, but otherwise this would go live immediately. So for quick typos or changing an image which was wrongly uploaded, this is really handy. Another tool that we have is our desktop asset management. This is a desktop application, as the name suggests, and it essentially allows you to manipulate content without actually going to the live site. So this is the tool itself. You need to add the websites that you want to edit, and of course provide the credentials for doing so. But once you are connected and you are online, you can actually view the actual content from the website. So another thing that we can actually do is, just give me a second, and I'll show you this file structure here. So we have a PDF folder with some PDF documents. Essentially what I can do is simply drag this and drop it, and we now have a PDF folder in here actually containing 2 documents. The 2 documents are these ones. If I actually now go into the back end to see our content, so this is where our content resides. We have news, blogs, events, etc., and we have the documents and files. This is the library which was just created by me dragging and dropping that folder structure. So the whole folder structure is replicated in the system, and we have the files uploaded. So a really quick and easy way of managing the content in here. So this is pretty much a quick intro through the eyes of the business user. Let's see what we have. We saw the content creation, content personalization, inline editing, and our desktop asset management, digital asset management tool. So the next thing I want to show you is Sitefinity through the eyes of the designer. That would be a quick one, because I think we don't need to spend too much time on that topic. Essentially, design is really within your hands, so no restrictions from Sitefinity's side. All the page templates and widget templates are available here. You can take a look at the built-in ones, so these are based on a built-in master page that we have, but you can create your own custom page templates based on a master page. Whenever you create a template, it can be either the default, using the default template, which is a hybrid mode for web forms and MVC. So in case you want to go for MVC development for any of your projects, you can safely do so with a hybrid mode, which would combine the widgets that we have for the web forms application and your custom MVC widgets that you create. If you want to go for a pure mode, you can of course do so by selecting any of those options in here, but the hybrid mode is the default one, which would be applied to any new page template that you create. Let's take a look at the Quantum template that we were using for creating the page. You see those common elements in here, so these are all managed on a page template level. And whenever you create a new template, you can actually base it on one of the existing ones. So you see that our products template is actually using the main template for its main parent template. This is really minimizing the work on replicating changes and really making sure that content is updated in one single place. And as far as widget templates are concerned, these are the different looks and feels that we have for our widgets. So for the news, those were the titles, dates, and summaries, titles only, titles, dates, and full content. All of these you can actually update and manage, and add new fields, change the whole layout structure here, styling, etc. So this can be done through custom widget templates or adding new ones. Okay. And now I think we are coming to the most interesting part, which would be the Sitefinity for developers. Now we'll take a look at how you can actually modify the behavior or extend the behavior of the system where needed. So that would include extending our existing content types, creating new content types, what is our provider model, what is the publishing system doing, and then going into Visual Studio and actually playing with some data there. Okay. All right, going back to our backend here. So these are the built-in content types. Those are news, blogs, events. And what a news article is what we have predefined. And that would be a structure which has essentially a title, some description, we have a summary, categories, tags, we have some additional information like who is the author, what is the source for this news article, a URL, etc. So all of this is provided as part of the information that we have about the news article. But what would happen if you need to add something in addition, maybe some info? Then you can easily do so by adding a new field to this structure. You see that the default fields are listed here, and we have added tags, category, and thumbnail for visualizing the news article. You can simply add a new field, and it can be either a short text, a long text, a multiple choice item, Boolean value, currency, date, time, any of those types. And you can actually relate one article to another. So the related data can be of type news, events, the pages that you have, or any dynamic module that you have created, or also any media. So if you would like to attach a document or an image to an existing item, you can definitely do so. And in that case, it's a reference to the item itself. Okay, so this is how you can extend the structure. I can maybe add a quick short text with some info so that we can see what would happen. Essentially, you are given the interface for selecting a label for this new item that we are adding. You can provide any limitation, you can adjust the appearance of the item, and you can make it required or not, localizable or not. This is all within your control. And once you save the changes, essentially the structure is updated. So if I now go into an existing news article, we say that we have the title, we have the content, we have the summary, categories and tags, and finally we have the info. Today's article. Very useful info in here, and I can publish this. And now you can of course reuse this content and this data on the visualization templates as well. So you can do that. Now what would happen if you need something that we don't have in the list here? So we have news, blogs, events. Indeed, these are pretty common elements, documents and files. But what if you need to create something that we don't have in the list here? That's pretty easy. Under administration, module builder, it's where you would find a tool that would allow you to create any type of structured content within the system. So let's say KB articles. A singular would be a KB article. And now we need to add some fields. So we have a title for this article. We can have some content, which would be of type long text, the interface is suggested by us. That would be the rich text editor. You can use a text area instead, or your custom interface, of course. But of course, using one of the already available interfaces is the quickest solution. We can add maybe a thumbnail. That would be a related media of type image. We can add maybe an attachment. That would be related media of type documents and files. And you can continue adding as many fields as you need to. Pressing finish would actually create this new module, as we call it. And by activating the module, what's happening is that the database is actually updated. So we now have a place for our new module, now our new type of data. And we have a place where we can store it and manage it and maintain it. Another thing that's actually going on in the background here is that we are generating quite a lot of interfaces for this. So you can actually take a look at it. First, if you need to migrate any data into a new module that you have created, you can use our code reference, which would give you a really quick idea as to how you can do that. This is generated on the fly, so you can copy and paste the code for actually creating a new KB article. Or if you need to query or publish a new KB article, all of those code samples are available for you. So you don't really need to hassle with that. Another thing that would happen is that you can actually manage the content in the back end here. First, for our Quantum website, I need to add this new type of content as something that's relevant for my site. So here are all the modules, and those can be switched on and off for the individual websites that we have, and I can enable the KB articles. Go back. We should actually now see it under content. We see that we have KB articles. Clicking on it would actually get me to an interface for creating a new KB article. That would be article 1 of many to come with some sample text. And you see that we have our image selector for adding an image, and we have our document selector for adding a document. You can do so from any of the already uploaded documents, or you can upload a document on the fly from your desktop machine. You see that all the blocks are actually arranged into libraries, so it's really easy to locate and reuse. Publish, and we see that the actual new article is created, and you can create as many of those as you need to. And finally, if you want to actually display this on a page, we've thought about this as well. So all you need to do is simply drag and drop a widget that we have created for you, and that would be the KB articles widget, which would list all the KB articles that I have, which currently is this single KB article. Okay, I'm catching my breath for a second here. So this is how you can actually extend an existing content type and create a new content type. Now let's take a look at the provider model and what it is actually. So all the data that you saw here, news, KB articles, everything is actually stored within database. So this is the default storage for any type of content. For blogs, you can actually store those items on the file system as well. It's a matter of configuration. So for each library, actually, you can say where you want to store those items. But the default behavior is that all the items are stored into the database. But if you want to pull some data from somewhere else, or maybe from another Sitefinity website, this is done through the provider model. So we have the news articles in here, and let's take a look at our advanced settings. So if we go under news, providers, we see that actually we have a couple of providers. All of those are based on our open access news provider, which is pulling the data from the database. but those are reused for the multiple websites that we have within this single instance in here. So any website that we create would have its own provider. Those providers can actually be reused by the different websites. So in this instance, we have 3 websites. One of those is actually a template for quickly creating new ones. And we have one website already created for one of the resellers of this online store company. What we can do is configure this website to be reusing another provider, another news data source, in this case, for example, the Excel News. Let's save the changes and go back. Under Content News, we will now see that we have 2 data sources, one of the Excel News and the other one is the default news, which is the news articles coming from the Quantum website. And given the right permissions, you can of course create new news articles for this provider, or if you have some additional or external data storage, you can add your own providers as well. So this is again pretty easy. All you need to do is implement the interface necessary for, of course, managing that type of data. So if it's a new news provider, then you would need to provide the logic for creating a new news article, deleting an existing one, modifying and updating, again, an existing article. So this would be the business logic that you need to put in place. Okay. I'm sure there will be questions afterwards regarding all of those functionalities, and I'll try to address them accordingly. The next topic here would be our publishing system. Essentially, with Sitefinity, you can use the backend and actually the system as a hub for collecting data and redistributing data. This is done with our alternative publishing, where essentially you have sources of information and you have the target and where that information is going for. For that, you need to create a feed, as we call it, and we have a content to include. And that content that you can include is either content from the system itself, which you can later distribute somewhere else. That can be dynamic content like the KB articles that we just created, so you can generate a feed based on that. Or you can use some external feeds and instead create some content within Sitefinity here. So let's do something like that. Let's look for some CNN feed. I'll select one of the existing ones, maybe the top stories. Okay. So now we have this external feed from CNN. We can include the latest maybe 3 items, and we're done. The next thing you need to do is decide what you want to do with this information. You can actually publish it as Sitefinity content, and that can be a news article. You can automatically publish the imported data and press done. Okay, give it a title, CNN News. Okay, and now you can run the feed and collect the data, and it would actually generate data within Sitefinity as well. Okay, here it is, China crackdown on naked officials. That sounds exciting. All right, so this is our publishing model. Essentially, you can extend it, so you can pretty much do anything with the data that's coming into Sitefinity or going out of Sitefinity. And this is what we are using for our built-in search as well. So any type of content which is being updated, it's essentially the source of data for our publishing system, and the target is our search index, which would be updated. And you can actually create multiple search indexes where you collect a set of data or just target one individual type of data. and you can later on search within those items. And the good thing to know is that we actually support search within the documents as well, so any PDFs or text documents or Word documents we can actually search within. All right. Okay, the time has actually come for me to actually open Visual Studio and play around with the system a bit. Just give Visual Studio a second to come live. So this is my solution. This is the Quantum project and its file structure. You see that it's a typical ASP.NET architecture here. With all the resources. Visual Studio actually came up pretty quickly. So this is the backend. So this is Sitefinity's web application. We have all the files in here. And Sitefinity Thunder is the add-on that I recommend installing before starting to work with any type of customization within Sitefinity. It's a really handy tool. It's a free add-on available for Visual Studio, as you can see. And it would give you quite a lot of functionality. So this Sitefinity Explorer is actually coming from Sitefinity Thunder. What we can see here is that we are actually connected to our website Quantum. We have provided the credentials, of course, and we can actually see our template. So we can see the master page that we are using, the Quantum master page. We can actually edit it straight into Visual Studio and add anything in here. Another thing that you can do is actually update the widget templates that you have or create new ones. So you see that already we have the KB articles and we have the list template, which is listing all the articles, and we have the full KB article, which is the detailed view of a single article. Again, you can manage those straight from Visual Studio without the need of actually going into the back end of the system. And another thing that you can do is actually create new stuff, right? So we have the built-in widgets, so which I showed you and which I used for the page creation process. So we have quite a lot of them. We have widgets for managing content. We have widgets for our navigation, for the login, managing users, for the e-commerce, email campaigns, of course. So these are handling all of the standard functionality. But if you need to customize the behavior of one of those existing widgets or create a new one, you can definitely do so. So the full list of widgets is available under the advanced settings, two boxes. And here we have several groups. So we have the page controls, the page layout elements. For the form builder, we have our forms controls, and we have our newsletter controls. Let's check the page controls, and we have, for example, under the content section, we see those same elements. Let's say you want to customize the behavior of a forms control. What you need to do is essentially create a new custom forms control, which extends the default one, and then you can override the behavior, for example, on the onSubmit method. And that's pretty common, one of the most typical scenarios. Another thing that you can actually do is create a new widget or a new tool, and for that you would actually use Sitefinity Thunder. We have a folder here called My Controls. I can add a new folder, maybe call it Northwind. So Northwind is a sample database with a bunch of tables with some sample data. It saves the developers time from actually creating new data, so they can reuse that for their development. And if I click Add here, a new item, we'll see that because I installed Sitefinity Thunder, I actually have this Sitefinity option in here, which lists all the available extensions that we have for Sitefinity. So whether you want to create a new layout widget or a new theme, a new website template, all of those elements, you can simply use Sitefinity Thunder to get you started with the development. And I'll use this last one, which would be our Sitefinity widget with designer. And I'll call it maybe customers, because in the Northwind database we have this customers table. I can add it and provide it with a wizard where I can select whether I want to create a designer or not, or whether I want to register the widget in the toolbox. And here are the content sections that we already have. I can create a new one for all the, I don't know, dynamic data. All right. So now I have this customers widget created. It's a really simple one. It simply contains a label, and we have our layout and our code behind. Everything is in place. I can save it and build a project. And the build is successful. Now if I go back to my application, it would restart because I rebuilt it, and it would be a little bit slow, but essentially we should be able to see the result, which should be the fact that we have a new widget in the listing there. Just give it a second. So that would be an example with a really simple widget, right? So it's essentially nothing more than adding one single label. And I'll show you in a second what you can do if you want to build something more complex using our tools. As I mentioned, we are built with and on top of our tools. So for example, if you decide to use our RAD controls for your development, you can definitely do so. And there is an extensive list of controls that you can use. You can see more than 80 controls are available for Ajax development. And these are actually open source now. We made those available, but these are available only as part of the package for the Sitefinity websites, or else those should be purchased separately. I believe you are already owning a license for those controls, but you can essentially use them for your Sitefinity projects as well, and the Kendo UI widgets as well. So let's go back to the green campaign. And this is the first time this page is compiled, so again, it would require a little bit more time than usual. Okay, let's scroll down. We have our dynamic data collection here with our customers widget, which essentially currently says hello world. Nothing too fancy here. Actually, I'll place this widget on a new page because this one is personalized, so I don't really see the page. Okay. All right. So we have the customers in here, and I'll get rid of this one. Great. So this is the customers page, pretty simple one. Hello world. Let's do something about it. So what I will do is copy and paste a little bit of code and give you some quick explanation as to what it does. Okay. Hopefully Visual Studio would be a quick runner and not a slow runner today. All right, successful copy-paste functionality. And what you can see here is the fact that I have added a reference to our Telerik Sitefinity Web UI. This is where our Ajax controls reside. And I have actually placed a single RAD grid element, which is using the data source, SQL data source 1, which is essentially the Northwind database, with a select of customer ID, company name, contact title, etc. Let's save this and let's view the customers page again. All right, so we now have the list of customers actually displayed. You can do the same for can-do controls. So if you want to use maybe the can-do grid instead, that would be it. And this is the example that I would actually use. Essentially what we need to do is add this part in here. You see that it would be calling our Northwind service. All right, so I've added this in place. Back to the customers. And now I have our can-do grid as well. We can add some styling. So for example, I see here that the CSS is a little bit off. What I can do is actually add the CSS to the titles and properties of this page. I'll copy the link. And in the advanced options, you can actually enter any type of meta information like JavaScript or scripts and styles or any type of metadata in there. If I now refresh, we now see the proper styling of our can-do grid, and you can use our paging, you can organize everything. All right, so that's great. And essentially for this you can use any type of, for your custom controls, you can actually use any type of tools that you need to, and you can visualize any data. And if you have existing development, you can also include that into your project, and then with Sitefinity Thunder, simply register that widget into the toolbox. So Thunder would locate all the user and custom controls, and it would provide you with an interface for actually inputting the widgets into the toolbox sections that we have. So any type of existing development you can reuse, any type of new development you can use Sitefinity Thunder for. All right. Okay, so we quickly took a look at Sitefinity Thunder, customizing existing widgets and custom widgets. And essentially, if you need any resources for your development, you can find those in our documentation, where we have our installation and administration guide, we have our user guide, designer's guide, e-commerce guide, developer's guide. So quite detailed resources on any type of topic. We also have our developer network, where you would find any type of forums asked, questions asked in our forums, blog posts with relevant topics. We have quite a lot of videos regarding multiple tasks that you need to execute within the system, our knowledge base, our marketplace, where multiple add-ons are available, and we have recordings of all of our webinars. The latest one was on the topic of can-do UI and RAD controls and their usage within Sitefinity, so that may be pretty interesting for you as well. The last thing maybe I want to touch upon is we saw that you can actually change the look and feel of widgets, you can extend content types, you can pull data from different data sources. Using the provider model, you can distribute content. And finally, what I want to actually show you is the fact that this backend that we have here, it's not really different from the front-end pages that you're managing. So essentially, all of those pages like dashboard, pages, content, we have a sitemap for that as well. If you go under administration and backend pages, and if you click OK after reading the caution message and being cautious, then that's where you would actually end up at the sitemap of the backend. So any type of new page that you want to add for managing or performing tasks that are relevant for an individual project, you can actually do so. And you can actually customize the dashboard as well. So on the dashboard, we saw that we have those analytics reports, the recent content items, but essentially we have these useful links as well. This is not something that you would see on a clean Sitefinity project. This is something that we have added for our usage only, essentially a link of useful resources. What you can do is, for example, add reports or anything like that to your dashboard and to your pages, and you can customize the backend as well.
All right. Thank you very much, Bibi. Outstanding as ever. All right, guys. So it's this is pretty much what we have, what we had as an idea of showing you. It was actually pretty hard for us to just pick up the information that will be most relevant to you and just show it out. The idea was to give you at least a glimpse or to scratch the surface of what Sitefinity can offer, but it's again very hard for us to just show this in an hour. So I hope that we were able to touch upon the most important topics or the topics that are of most interest to you. Again, I do not see any questions. I'm kind of disappointed. We love questions, but in any case, of course, at one point maybe we can take this as a compliment so that we were detailed enough. But as I mentioned, in any case, we will follow up with, of course, the recording of this session, and we will include some links to the resources that Bibi showed at the end right now of the presentation, so that whichever topics is interesting to you, you can touch upon them.
Yeah, there are two questions, in fact, Momchil. One is about...
We cannot see them. Can you? Yeah.
Yes, it seems that we cannot see them. Sorry for that. Can you, Abhishek, if you'll be kind enough to actually share that with us, we'll be happy to answer.
Yes, so I'm just going to share them. Just 1 second.